Hello, I am Brian Kurth with Revere skills-based volunteering software, and welcome to 3 Tips in 3 Minutes for CSR Leaders. And with me today is Shanda Vangas with Fourth Wave Strategies. Shanda, welcome on board.
Thank you, and aloha, Brian. Really happy to be here. And like you said, I'm with Fourth Wave Strategies.
Aloha. Explain.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I happen to live in Maui, in the state of Hawaii. And that's where Fourth Wave Strategies is based. And Fourth Wave is a social impact consulting firm. And I work with both nonprofit organizations and corporations and small businesses.
Awesome. And we just out of disclosure, we've had a great time working together with Be Civic, which is a nonprofit organization in Denver, Colorado, where you used to live, and serving on a couple of committees together. And can't say enough about Shanda. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you now for your 3 tips in 3 minutes for CSR leaders. Take it away.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Well, my first tip is to make sure you clarify the overarching priorities for your CSR and social impact programs. By this, I don't mean your focus areas. I mean, really from a business ROI perspective, what are the priorities that your company is looking for from your social impact programs? You know, this sounds really basic, but you'd be surprised how many companies don't do that. And then internally, you have different leaders and business units with competing priorities. Nothing gets decided. No one knows what we're trying to achieve. And it creates a lot of frustration and challenges for social impact professionals. And you have less impact because you're not focused on what are we really trying to achieve here. You know, and once you have that clarity, it becomes this great filter to help you really decide the direction. You know, every opportunity that comes your way, you look at it through that first year focus area lens, like, is this the impact we want to have? And then secondary, the business priority lens of, you know, say your priorities typically is something around social impact, brand and reputation, and talent, right? Mm-hmm. So every opportunity you look at, how is it meeting those opportunities, those priorities for our company? And that helps you make those decisions and determine what is the best fit for the resources that we have. So number 2 is, don't just sit with those priorities and focus areas yourself. You really have to work across the business in different departments and functions and business lines to understand what those priorities mean to them. So an example, I talked about marketing, brand and reputation. That's a huge, really broad area. Sitting in CSR, I have this picture in my head of, oh, this will strengthen our brand. But unless I talk to my marketing colleagues in the different business lines, they might have a whole different focus, very specific within the brand, a target audience for this business, or, you know, those kinds of things that I don't know if I don't get out of my, quote, virtual office and really understand what the other businesses are doing, what the functions are focused on. And the same thing on the talent side. You know, again, employee engagement is so broad. It's not until you really dig in with HR to find out what are our priorities within employee engagement and where can social impact best drive that. We can't solve everything for everyone, but if we understand what our colleagues are trying to achieve, we can focus to go after those really specific things that they're trying to measure and be a good partner in that way.
Awesome. I could not agree more. I've felt the pain of some of our clients in that regard when they're working in their silos. We all tend to, on occasion, work in a silo, and marketing is, you don't necessarily think of marketing as being so critical to CSR and social impact, but it is, and not beyond just the PR side to it. It is critical to getting that right from the get-go, I would argue.
I agree. And I learn more, every day. And historically I've been, with different companies, kind of communications, government affairs, marketing, more recently doing a lot more work with a company on the HR side. And I'm just learning so much of things like, why didn't I in that last, consulting gig work with HR too? So that's a great segue to my 3rd tip. And this might seem a little different, but it's all tied into focusing for impact. And that is, apply the same rigor and standards to making decisions about your volunteering and employee engagement programs as you do to your financial investments. Most companies, whether it's grant making, sponsorships, just donations, we have criteria and metrics and really specific standards we're holding our partners to of what we're going to measure and report. But we don't always do that with our volunteer activities. And we know that employee engagement and volunteerism, if done well, can have just as much or more impact than financial investments. but not if we don't apply that same rigor. And so I'm really trying to work with clients on, as you're evaluating these volunteer events, yes, putting people on t-shirts and getting together and having fun like that. Yes, that helps drive engagement. But is that enough? Like, how are we making sure that's really achieving our priorities, making a difference in something tangible, and working with our partners to say, how could we measure this? How do you see these volunteer opportunities might drive leadership development, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and belonging, brand and rep, bringing those all together. And so not just like, oh, it's fun, people will love it. Everybody loves that organization, but everybody loves that event. Yep. But are we really leveraging it to have the biggest impact we could? The same way we analyze our dollars. Well,
and CFOs want, I don't care, even if it's a traditional fundraising or a volunteering event, it's all about ESGs as well these days. Things have to be driving towards ESGs for CFOs to be comfortable with even having, I hate to say it, I mean, this is sad to say, but it's the truth. Truth sometimes hurts.
Yeah.
That, CFOs need to see the bottom line and how this feeds into ESGs, for it to be a credible CSR social impact program. It has to have some kind of bottom line feed into ESGs.
I completely agree with you because, I think historically there hasn't been as much pressure or rigor applied on the volunteerism side. Like more was better, right? More is better, more people, more participation, more departments. And that's not a horrible thing.
Quantity versus qualitative, which also feeds back into quantitative to the numbers for the CFO.
Exactly. And I had a great conversation with a chief diversity officer yesterday talking about like, how can we put a diversity lens when we analyze the data of this, percentage of colleagues that are volunteering? Who are they? Are there certain pockets that are not being included? And just really getting us thinking about what are the different ways we can use data and metrics, again, aligning with our priorities so we can design programs, not just saying, oh, that's great, you have this menu of opportunities, but can we design something that's focused on where we believe we can have the biggest impact? And that's where you get your S in ESG, right? Where you're really defined impact that aligns with your business.
Completely agree. Shanda, we've gone over 3 minutes a little bit due to my interruptions because I get excited about this stuff, and you've provided 3 phenomenal tips. Now, when folks want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
I say reach out on LinkedIn. That's easy to find me, Shanda Vangas. Pretty sure I'm still the only one in the world. And I also, Fourth Wave Strategies has a LinkedIn company page too. So best way to reach out. Love connecting with people no matter where you are. That's one of the best things about this kind of virtual world. I have colleagues and friends in so many places now and still feel really connected to my dear friends in Colorado, especially.
Well, and the time zone difference can work to your advantage at times. Trust me.
Sometimes, yes.
So good. Shanda, thank you so much for being part of 3 tips in 3 minutes for CSR leaders. Really appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Mahalo, Brian.
Mahalo.